Regular council meeting for the City of Springdale for June 4th. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and we're moving right along. Next, we'll move on to roll call. Ms. Potter, if you take roll.
Mr. Gleaves.
Present.
Ms. McFarland.
Present.
Mr. Vanover.
Present.
Mrs. Webster. Mrs. Sullivan-Wisecup.
Present.
Mr. Jacobs.
Present.
Mr. Anderson.
Present. All right, council, in your package, you had the minutes from the May 21st, 2025 meeting. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? All right, all those approving the minutes as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstentions? The minutes are approved with 6 affirmative votes and 1 abstention. All right, next we'll move on to communications. Ms. Browder, are there any communications for council this evening?
Yes, Mr. President, we do have 2 liquor permits that the city has received. These are existing permits being transferred between entities or locations. You're probably familiar with the Mi Cozumel. And then the other is related to the BF LLC going on Shakely Way, which was a transfer from the P&G restaurant group out of Columbus.
All right, council, there's no vote or action on this. It's just if there's any concerns or questions, this is your opportunity to ask them. I assume if there was concerns from the police department administration would let us know.
Yeah, no concerns from police.
All right, sounds like we'll go ahead and file those without comment.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have communications to the audience. If anyone in the audience would like to address council for any reason, this is your opportunity. You'd have up to 5 minutes to speak to council. Simply come forward to the podium, state your name and address council. At this point, communications from the audience is now open. Second call. Third and final call. All right, I'm closing communications from the audience. Next, we'll move on to ordinances and resolutions. First up is ordinance number 24-2025. This is a second reading. Mr. Jacobs.
Ordinance number 2024-2025, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and city administrator to enter into a funding agreement with the Board of County Commissioners of Hamilton County, Ohio, to administer a 2025 small event grant. Whereas Hamilton County, Ohio has established as part of their 2025 general fund budget the small event grant program to promote economic development in suburban communities through the support of smaller community-focused events in Hamilton County, and whereas interested local governments could apply for funds to implement and host events with costs including equipment rentals, entertainment and performers, marketing and promotion, security and insurance, permits and licenses, and other expenses eligible for grant funds. And whereas the city of Springdale, the city, submitted an application for Springdale Pretzel Fest to be held on August 2nd in the heart of the city, the event, that will include expenses directly related to the event. And whereas the city seeks to enter into a funding agreement with the Board of Hamilton County Commissioners accepting the grant funding available through the Hamilton County Small Event Grant Program. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1. The Council of the City of Springdale, the Council hereby authorizes the Mayor and City Administrator to enter into a funding agreement with the Board of County Commissioners of the Hamilton County, Ohio, to administer a 2025 small event grant. The agreement. A copy of the agreement is attached as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference. Section 2. Council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this legislation were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council, and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action, were taken in meetings open to the public, in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 3. This ordinance shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law.
Council, you've heard the reading of ordinance number 24-2025. What is your pleasure?
Move to
adopt.
second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, Ms. Browder, if you'll poll council.
Mrs. Sullivan-Wisecup.
Aye.
Mr. Vanover.
Aye.
Mr. Gleaves.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mrs. Webster.
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs.
Aye.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye. Ordinance number 24-2025 passes with 7 affirmative votes. All right, council, next we'll move on to ordinance number 25-2025. This is a first reading. Mr. Jacobs.
Ordinance number 25-2025, an ordinance authorizing contributions to certain health accounts of employees of the City of Springdale related to the city's health insurance plan. Whereas the City of Springdale, the city, became a member of the Center for Local Government Benefits pool offered through the Center for Local Government beginning August 1st, 2010. And whereas, as part of the city's health insurance plan, the city has established health savings accounts, HSAs, and health reimbursement accounts, HRAs, for full-time city employees. And whereas the Council for the City of Springdale has determined that it is appropriate for the city to make contributions to these funds up to certain levels in order to provide an additional medical benefit that assists employees with healthcare expenses. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring, Section 1. The City of Springdale shall make contributions to the HSA and/or HRA accounts for all current full-time employees participating in the city's health insurance plan for the 2025-2026 plan year, beginning August 1, 2025, in the amount of up to 50% of the deductible for a full year, but shall not exceed $1,000 for single coverage or $2,000 for employee spouse, employee child, or family coverage, provided the employee is in compliance with all requirements of the city's health insurance program. Section 2. The city shall make contributions to the HSA and/or HRA accounts for all new full-time city employees on a prorated basis as set forth in Exhibit A attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, provided the employee is in compliance with all requirements of the city's health insurance program. Section 3. The Finance Officer Tax Commissioner is hereby authorized to take any actions necessary to make said contributions. Section 4. This council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this ordinance were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council, and if its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action, were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 5. This ordinance shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law.
Council, this was the first reading of ordinance number 25, 2025. Are there any questions or discussion this evening? Mayor Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just for council, again, this has been going on since 2010, and these are the same percentages or contributions that the city's made since 2010, just for a point of reference going back in time. So it's been something that has worked well for the employees, and I think that they appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, seeing no more lights, council, we will see this again at our next meeting. All right, next up on the agenda is ordinance number 26, 2025. Mr. Jacobs?
Ordinance 26, 2025, an ordinance approving a major modification to the Century Business Park planned unit development for the property located at 865 East Kemper Road. Whereas the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio Council has previously approved the Century Business Park planned unit development, the PUD, and whereas the applicant has submitted an application for a major modification to the PUD located at 865 East Kemper Road to allow for a modification to be made by Active Day Ohio to convert the property from commercial use to an adult daycare facility. And whereas at its meeting of May 13, 2025, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the proposed major modification. And whereas a public hearing was held by Council on June the 18th, 2025, pursuant to the requirements of the zoning code. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring, Section 1. The major modification to the Century Business Park PUD associated with the modification of the property at 865 East Kemper Road to allow for a modification to be made by an Active Day Ohio to convert the property from commercial use to an adult daycare facility, which has been reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission in accordance with the attached Exhibit A, which is incorporated herein by reference, is hereby approved, subject to the conditions of the Planning Commission, including A, staff, city engineer, and city planner recommendations and considerations contained in their reports. B, as a PUD, this shall include staff, law director, and city approvals of covenants as necessary. C, there shall be a canopy system approved for the site for drop-off pickup, which shall be over the entries and approved by staff. Canopy must be installed no later than 12 months from the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. Section 2, this council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this ordinance were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council, and if its committees, if any, which result in a formal action, were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 3, this ordinance shall be in effect from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
Council, this was the first reading of ordinance number 26, 2025. Keep in mind, we will have a public hearing in our next meeting at the same time. Are there any questions or discussion this evening? Ms. Sullivan Weiscup.
Thank you, Mr. President. At Planning Commission, we did talk about this at length, and I did want to bring up one thing in particular on this under Section 1C. There should be a canopy system approved for the site for drop-off, pickup, etc. I want to specify something with this is that it will not be overhanging the public drive, where the public will be driving. This is not going to be hanging out into any area outside the sidewalk. It's going to be right in front of the entrance. And it is something that we might end up going back and revisiting on the final, or speak to staff about to see exactly how that's going to work in that space. So that piece, I just want to let you know that it's not a big canopy. It's a very small, just enter into the space canopy for the walkway.
So a question, with that in mind, should we be removing section C and just relying on point A and B that have that as just a reference in the planning committee report? I'm just concerned that if we leave this in here, it'll require a canopy regardless of what planning commission says. And I'm seeing Mr. Braun nod his head yes, so I think I've got it right.
I'll say if we're allowed to do it, I would like to make a motion.
Mr. Yule?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, just by way of clarification, as Mrs. Sullivan Weisskopf stated, I guess there was some discussion at the Planning Commission meeting, and the way the motion was written didn't necessarily specify the type of. Staff's recommendation is to not extend out into the parking lot because that would prevent or cause some obstruction to the vehicular traffic and the flow in the parking lot. So it's up to council as well to strike entirely or modify the language.
Mr. Braun?
Thank you, Mr. President. If we do want to do what I'm hearing you want to do, I think we should modify it, to be clear, because remember what you pass is what's going to be in effect. And it's slightly different than what was passed down below. So the only thing I would remind council of is you need a supermajority to pass it that way, because if you accept it, simple majority. If you reject it or modify it, you need a supermajority. I don't think that's going to be a problem because I think what we're really doing is clarifying what was the intent down below, but I just wanted to remind you of that requirement should you make that amendment. But I do think if you want to accomplish what Ms. Sullivan Weisskopf said, and I think it would be wise to do, you should have us amend that and bring it back in that form for second reading.
So by amend, you mean strike C or amend C to reference planning's whatever planning approves?
Yeah, whatever you all as a council decide you want to do is fine, whether it's amend or remove. But I think that revision should definitely be there just so that they don't run with it, the way we word it.
So I guess that's a question back to Ms. Sullivan Weisskopf is, based on what you know with planning and
My question is still, I understand that the purpose of it, that Ms. Fields was actually the one that had brought it up, that she had wanted it in there was to break up across the front and make it stand out as theirs. My question is it going to be more of a problem than a help if you have people who are coming in wheelchairs and different things and you have an awning, half of it's still going to be coming down, and so you have to think about loading and unloading their buses and things like that. I had concerns about that, but it was basically the canopy part was the only part that I was confused about. So I personally would like to remove it if it doesn't serve a purpose in planning other than design.
But the only concern is if we strike it completely as opposed to clarifying, that'll then force any of our vote after the public hearing next time to be a supermajority, which is fine. If it's what we're trying to do is to address that canopy concern. I mean, it makes sense to me to just strike it and leave it as the covenants. I wonder though, we could leave C in there and just amend it to say something like based on planning's final approval, but that's duplicate from A. So
Yes.
I would think we should strike it.
Okay.
But we can find out if you want to make a motion. We can see
I would
what
like
we
to
could-
make a motion to strike section 1C from ordinance number 26, 2025.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to amend ordinance number 26, 2025 to strike section 1C in its entirety. As Mr. Braun mentioned, if this is approved, the ordinance, when it comes to our full vote next time, will require a supermajority. So just keep that in mind. Is there deliberation available for amendment? So at this point, the floor is open for deliberation on the amendment. If anyone has questions or concerns, this is your chance to ask questions, concerns about the the proposed amendment. All right, seeing none. Ms. Pratt, if you poll council on the proposed amendment to strike section 1C from ordinance 26, 2025.
Mrs. Sullivan Weisskopf?
Aye.
Mr. Gleaves?
Aye.
Mr. Vanover?
Aye.
Mrs. Webster?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye. The proposed amendment to strike section 1C has been approved. So now going forward, we'll consider this ordinance number 26, 2025 as amended. Is there any other questions or discussion on ordinance number 26, 2025 as amended? At least for this evening. All right, seeing none, we will see this at our next meeting, at our next council meeting, and we will have a public hearing slated for that as well. All right. Next, we'll move on to ordinance number 27, 2025. This is also a first reading. Mr. Jacobs.
Ordinance number 27, 2025, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an agreement with Donovan Energy for electric vehicle supply equipment design services for the installation of electric vehicle charging stations in the city of Springdale. Whereas the city of Springdale, the city, secured a grant from the Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana Regional Council, OKI, to assist with the installation of electric vehicle charging stations to be located on municipal property within the city. And whereas the city desires to enter into an agreement with Donovan Energy for electric vehicle supply equipment design services to be paid for using the proceeds of the OKI grant the city received. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring Section 1, that the city administrator is hereby authorized to execute an agreement with Donovan Energy for electric vehicle supply equipment design services in the amount of $45,000. The agreement, a copy of the agreement is attached as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference. Section 2, council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this legislation were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and if its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action, were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law.
Council, you've heard the first reading of ordinance number 27, 2025. Questions or discussion this evening? All right. Seeing none, we will see us again at our next meeting. All right. Next on our agenda is Resolution R13, 2025. There's a public hearing attached to this as well. So we'll handle this just like we did the other public hearing when we had one inside of a second reading. So we'll go ahead and read the resolution. I'll open the public hearing. We'll complete that, and then I'll ask council for which if you want to proceed with the vote or not. All right. So Mr. Jacobs, when you're ready, Resolution R13, 2025.
Resolution number R13, 2025, a resolution adopting the tax budget of the City of Springdale for the fiscal year January 1, 2026 through December 31, 2026. Whereas the mayor, the city administrator, and finance officer tax commissioner of the City of Springdale, Ohio, have prepared and submitted to the council a tax budget for the fiscal year January 1, 2026 through December 31, 2026, the tax budget, and whereas a public hearing has been conducted on the proposed tax budget with at least 10 days prior notice. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring Section 1. The tax budget submitted to the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio by the Mayor, the City Administrator, and the Finance Officer Tax Commissioner for the year January 1, 2026 through December 31, 2026, a copy of which is attached and is incorporated herein by reference, is hereby adopted. Section 2. The Finance Officer Tax Commissioner is directed to submit the adopted tax budget to the County Budget Commission on or before the filing deadline of July 18, 2025. Section 3. This council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this legislation were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and if its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action, were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 4. This resolution shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
Council Resolution R13, 2025 requires a public hearing. So at this point, I'm opening the public hearing related to Resolution R13, 2025. If anyone would like to address council related to this resolution, the floor is now open. You simply need to come forward to the podium, state your name and address, and speak to this issue. At this point, the floor is now open. Second call. Third and final call. All right, at this point, I'm closing the public hearing related to Resolution R13, 2025. Council, you've heard the reading. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, Ms. Browder, if you poll council on Resolution R13, 2025.
Mr. Vanover?
Aye.
Mrs. Sullivan Wisecup?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mrs. Webster?
Aye.
Mr. Gleaves?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye. Resolution R13, 2025 passes with 7 affirmative votes. All right, having gotten through ordinances and resolutions, now we'll move on to the next topic, which is old business. We had one item already populated for old business, and that's the Zoning Code Revision Committee that we spoke on last meeting. How we'll handle this is we'll do it as opposed to just me appointing a member from council. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and open the floor for nominations, just as we normally would for any other committee appointment. So we'll go through nominations. Once we have all the nominations, if there's more than one person nominated, then we simply go by a name vote down the row. and whoever has the majority of votes will be council's appointee to that position. Any questions about the process? All right, so was that a question about the process? Ms. Sullivan-Weiskup?
I have a question. If someone is on planning or BZA already and they're on council, are they considered for nomination? I didn't know if it was, since we do have people from planning and people from BZA also, so I wanted to clarify that.
Yes, all 7 members of council are available to be nominated. It's certainly your prerogative to accept or not accept the nomination if you think it would be a conflict, but it's not a conflict so much, it's just additional experience that you would bring. So anyone on council would be eligible for it. And again, the nominations standard process, it does not require a second. You can nominate yourself. It just requires just simple name, and then you're in the pool for the committee. Any other questions about the process? Mayor Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I just want to be clear, and I was at the BZA meeting. Mr. Gleaves had referenced it to those members as well. Is the idea and goal within selecting representation from council, planning commission, and board of zoning appeals to only have one person versus 2 people?
One person from each committee, and they'll represent that body. So the idea is that that person would then respond back and reflect the views of the rest of that body and carry those issues forward so they can be a working group.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure for clarity's sake.
Yes. But no, they're if somebody is already there, say were nominated by that other board, they wouldn't be eligible to be also the council appointee and then have 2 votes.
Right.
So we should clarify that. Has BZA and planning already nominated a person? I thought they were both discussing but haven't actually placed the nominee. Is that right? Okay. So the floor is wide open then at this point for anyone from council that could be on that committee. All right. So at this point, we'll go ahead and do nominations for our council's appointment to the committee. Mr. Jacobs.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to nominate David Gleaves to serve on the committee.
I was before him.
Go ahead, Mr. Jacobs. I didn't hear you. There was cross-speak.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate David Gleaves to serve on the committee.
All right. Are there other nominations? Mr. Vanover.
I'll throw my hat, as I said previous meeting, into the ring and continue to keep it there.
Ms. Webster.
Thank you. As per your request from a couple of weeks ago, I have given this committee appointment a lot of thought. Since I have the time, I would like to be appointed to this committee. Because there's a lot of talk about how much time the committee, how many meetings there will be, and all the working, I feel like I could do a good job there. I do not think the district council people should be appointed to this committee because of the upcoming elections. There is no guarantee that anybody is going to be back, and this committee is supposed to go for a couple of years. As for the at-large council members, Mrs. McFarland is already on Planning Commission, and Mr. Cleaves is already on Board of Zoning. So I guess by process of elimination, the new appointment should be me. I only have one committee meeting, and that meets just 2 or 3 times a year. It's a the Finance Committee, so we don't meet that often. Thank you for your consideration. And before I go any further, Mr. Anderson, I had my light on for 4 people. I had it on before Megan's, I had it on before Lawrence's, I had it on before Jacob's, and I had it on before Vanover's. And this is about the 16th time you've done that to me, and you will not do it again. You always go over me when I'm the last resort, and I don't like it, and it better not happen again. I'm tired of it.
All right, we have 3 names currently for the pool of nominees. Are there any other nominations? All right, seeing none, there are 3 nominees for the council appointment to the Zoning Code Revision Committee. There are 3 names that are eligible are Mr. Gleaves, Mr. Vanover, and Ms. Webster. So as the process has been in the past for when there's multiple nominations, we'll simply go down the line, and all you simply need to do to respond is the name that you're voting for to be appointed, and then whoever has the majority of votes will then be our appointment. Ms. Webster, did you have a question?
I do.
Ms. Webster.
I have a question about your executive session at the last meeting. Somebody's supposed to be telling me what went on in the meeting, and I've yet to hear about it.
So right now, we're dealing with committee appointments.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure you don't forget me.
Okay. So we're in We're voting for the Zoning Code Revision Committee appointment currently. There are 3 names eligible: Mr. Gleaves, Mr. Vanover, and Ms. Webster. So Ms. Browder will then go down and poll council, and you simply need to respond with a name that you want to vote for. So Ms. Browder, if you'd poll council on the committee appointments.
Mrs. Sullivan Wisecup,
Mr. Cleaves.
Mr. Gleaves,
Mr. Gleaves?
Mr. Jacobs,
Mr. Gleaves.
Mr. Vanover,
Mr. Vanover.
Mrs. Webster,
Mrs. Webster?
Ms. McFarland,
Mr. Cleaves.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Vanover. So with 4 votes, I'm sorry? Was there something you wanted to say for the record? Okay. With 4 votes, Mr. Gleaves is the committee appointment, is our appointment to the Zoning Revision Committee. Mr. Gleaves, when we get the additional names, we go ahead and do kickoff, and we can talk about the process. And again, Mr. Braun and administration will be available too. That committee is going to make up people both from council and then residents from, most likely residents from planning and BZA. Just know that some of the process they'll need some help with. So we'll be looking for you to take a leadership role with that. All right. Is there any other old business anyone would like to bring forward? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to, I'm sorry, just to address the question from Ms. Webster that happened during the committee appointments. In terms of getting caught up from executive session, we can take that offline. That's something that's usually done at the request of the person who is absent. So we can talk about that after the meeting if you like, or find another time. We don't usually discuss executive session or the process of that in the public meetings. All right, moving on to new business. Is there any new business anyone on council would like to bring forward? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to meetings and announcements. Ms. Sullivan Wisecup.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning Commission will meet in these chambers on June 10th. It's next Tuesday at 7 p.m. And we also have our first concert coming up in the park next week on Thursday the 12th. It's The Remains. Thanks.
Still in meetings and announcements. Ms. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Civil Service Commission will meet tomorrow, June 5th at 2 p.m. adjacent to these chambers.
Any other meetings and announcements? Mr. Gleaves.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Board of Zoning Appeals is scheduled to meet this month. Excuse me, hold on for a minute. That will be the 24th of June, 7 p.m. in these chambers. I'm not sure if we're going to have training that has been tentatively scheduled. I had heard it is possibly pushed back to July. Mr. Braun, do you know where we at with that?
Mr. Braun.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my understanding that it is going to be in July. Mr. Yule, do you know that? Or Ms. Morgan? Is it your understanding that Ms. Hayes is going to be out in June, so the training for BZA is going to be in July? I'll get back to you and clarify, but it was my understanding that she had requested that be done at your meeting in July, so I'll confirm that.
Thank you.
Mr. Vanover.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just while we're in meetings announcements, clarify the meeting day and time for next month, our regular council meeting, because we're moving into the summer schedule.
Yes, that's a good reminder. So for July, this is the month that, so we still have our regular June meeting that's coming up, the June 18th. And then after that, we will have a July 2nd meeting, which is the one that's usually canceled for summer schedule, but that's where we switched. So our next 2 meetings are going to be June 18th at 7 p.m. here, and then July 2nd. The July 16th meeting is canceled, and then the meeting after that would then be August 20th. So just note, just for council to keep in mind, if there's ordinances that are required, especially if they require 2 readings, just keep in mind the timing, that there's going to be a big gap after that first meeting in July until the meeting in August that we have. So if you have things that you want to bring forward, make sure that you're accounting for that. All right. Still in meetings and announcements. All right. Next, we'll move on to communications in the audience. This is the second opportunity for anyone in the audience that would like to address council for any reason. Simply come forward to the podium, state your name and address, and you can address council for up to 5 minutes. At this point, the floor is now open for communications from the audience. Second call. Third and final call. And just for the record, if we could just record that Ms. Webster has left the meeting or is leaving the podium and walking out, just so we have that in the record. Okay, next up, we have a recap of legislative items. Mr. Jacobs, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you review your legislative summary, item 1 was addressed by ordinance 24-2025, receiving a second reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and city administrator to enter into a funding agreement with the Board of County Commissioners of Hamilton County, Ohio, to administer a 2025 small event grant that passed with 7 affirmative votes. Item 2 was addressed by Resolution R-13-2025, a resolution adopting the tax budget of the city of Springdale for the fiscal year January 1, 2026 through December 31, 2026. That passed with 7 affirmative votes. Item 3 was addressed by ordinance 25-2025, an ordinance authorizing contributions to certain health accounts of employees of the city of Springdale related to the city's health insurance plan that received a first reading. Item 4 was addressed by ordinance 26-2025, receiving a first reading, an ordinance approving a major modification of the Sensory Business Park Plan Unit Development for the property located at 865 East Kemper Road, and that received a first reading, and we did strike section C of that ordinance. And item 5 was addressed by ordinance 27-2025, receiving a first reading, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an agreement with Donovan Energy LLC for electric vehicle supply equipment design services for the installation of electric vehicle charging stations in the city of Springdale. Council also voted to appoint Mr. Gleaves to serve on the Zoning Code Revision Committee. And unless there's something else from administration, that's all I have.
Nothing else? All right, then that covered 12 and 13?
Yes.
All right, then all we have left before us is item 14.
Move to adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.